So what's happening?
So like the hashtag.
Yes, don't kill Sean Bean.
It was a great idea.
That was all TNT.
Yeah, but I can't remember. Someone inside TNT, I don't know
I know,
what it was, but it's a great idea. Someone's going to get a promotion.
I know.
It's always David's. If it's a good one, it's my idea. If it's a bad one, it's his idea.
Are you going to try to get around it by killing off one of the legends?
Well, he does. I said, are you going to get around it by killing off one of the legends? I think that's a great way to kill Sean Bean and not kill Sean Bean.
Yes, exactly. What happened? Well, the thing is yes, in many ways, Sean Bean's, Martin Odom's legends do at times, they get burned, and he has to say goodbye to them. And it's interesting, in this show, that's an emotional thing for him, because he fully inhabits these characters. He sort of has to bury them. He has to say goodbye to them. To Martin Odom, these were, this was a legend that had a family. It had he had a wife and a kid, and he'll never go back to them again, even though he kind of in his head lived with those people and cared about them and felt for them. So it's an interesting kind of psychological character study. Every legend is kind of a cool study.
What makes this show different? Like Burn noticing smart characters which he becomes involved.
Well, I think the biggest difference is just sort of the concept of legends in and of themselves. Is they are they're kind of these pre-existing identities that he steps into and steps out of, but they continue to exist. We're not doing a legend of the week, if you will. These are deeper stories that play over multiple episodes, and he lives in that legend over multiple episodes. And I think that's probably the biggest difference between those shows.
I don't think any of those characters ever asked, "Who am I?" And that's really what it comes down to. And so it becomes a mystery, that Martin is locating himself, and then even locating a deeper question, which is, if I'm not Martin Odom, then who am I? But not just the biography of who I am, but what about this kid who I know that emotion is real, that's real. And this wife who I have feelings for, that's real too. And so it really sort of makes you deconstruct and reconstruct the question of who am I? And that's what Martin's doing.
This notion of identity is really the core theme of the show, and we try to chime that in every episode as he asks this question, who am I? And the answer to who he is we sort of I'm not going to say anything about where we go to, but the idea is that for someone like Martin beginning to raise this question of, am I actually living a legend? Is Martin Odom a legend? And it's a huge kind of launching off point for a guy who needs to get to the answers.
Obviously, we have a lot of different characters with a lot of complicated backstories that we haven't seen yet. But since the focus is on Martin, his big question, that's the push. Are you sometimes a little conflicted because you want to put somebody who's like interesting take here in an episode? Is it hard to find a balance between the main thrust of the story and sort of actually having depth at the supporting character level?
Well, I think you always have to strike a balance between sort of the plot and the character of the story but when we discussed it at the beginning, we always said, like, this is a show that's driven by character, not the case. And we really wanted that question of, the who am I to really resonate throughout. So even if maybe he steps so fully into his legend that he's not thinking at that moment, I may not be who I am. He knows who he is in that moment, and so, but it's when he comes out of it that he starts cracking and he starts falling apart. So we're able to kind of do both, I think, and I think we found a really good balance. I think as we.
And the question is, how do you take a show like this, and how do you know how fast to go, how slow to go? What will it's a challenging recipe, and I think David's found a great, just the right temperature and the right tone. And I think one of the really, again, I can toot his horn, having not, this was his idea, but it was really grounding this idea, which could be cheesy very, very easily. And David said, I don't want this to be cheesy. I don't want anyone to have stuck a chip in his head. I don't want it, but so it really does come from character and pathology. So we pathologize the occupational hazard of this deep cover operative who is the best at what he does.
Make it as psychological as possible and not, not mechanical. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, and and as well, kind of giving the stories enough room to breathe, so that credibly we would believe that he could infiltrate and he could kind of get into it and everything. And even still, I think the stories move really fast. They're not slow. Right.
So I'm guessing your plan is not to reveal the idea of like the central identity question in this first group of episodes. How soon will viewers get some details about what's going on with the central mystery of identity beyond what we saw in the subway in the second episode?
Well, fairly quickly, I think we get on that ride, and even when he's working a case or he's stepping into another legend, we're always sort of chiming kind of what is at the back of his mind in terms of this question of who am I and everything. But that question really is what's driving this season. And what's interesting about, I think, a show like Legends is that his character is in essence sort of a Russian doll, of sorts. Is you think you're talking to Dante Auerbach and you open that up and there's Martin Odom. Well, what happens? You open up the Martin Odom doll. Like, is there what's there? And is that really the last piece of the puzzle? So it really is. It's a high wire act too, right? It's a high wire act, and it's also like it has endless possibility in terms of where this identity question can go.